What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to VJ Basketball Takes. And today, I'll be talking about my finals predictions and what I think is going to happen in the finals. So first, I want to go over the Boston Celtics strengths and problems and the Warriors strengths and problems also. So first, I'm going to talk about the Boston Celtics. Now, the first problem I want to talk about with the Celtics is their turnovers. The Celtics core ball handlers like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have, like, if you have watched them play in the whole playoffs, them turning the ball over is one of the main problems that they have. And to me, in my opinion, for Tatum, that's the only problem he has when he has the ball in his hand. Cause he's a great playmaker, is that he turns the ball over way too much. And the same thing could be said for Jaylen Brown, where when he has the ball in his hand, he's already like known to turn the ball over due to the lack of him having a good handle of the ball. So them having that big of a problem against a defense like the Golden State Warriors, where they have players like Gary Payton on the perimeter, Seth Curry on the perimeter, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, people who will hustle for that little deflection that no one will, not everybody will really worry about, but they will hustle for that little deflection or try to poke at the ball because they know Jaylen Brown's not a great ball handler, or Jason Tatum, they know that he struggles with handling the ball. So that is a problem for the Celtics. The next problem that the Celtics has compared to the Warriors is experience. Now, we all know that if you have seen the little graphic that's been posted ever since the Warriors has made it to the finals and they have beat Dallas, people have been talking about how they, in the last 8 years, they've been to the finals 6 times in the last 8 years. Officially, in the media at least, officially making them a dynasty, right? And that's one of the Warriors' strengths, is that they are very, very experienced, and that's one of Boston, compared to the Warriors at least, that's one of Boston's weaknesses compared to them, because Boston has never been to the finals. They never even played a Western team in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? They never played. They play LeBron, but they lost to LeBron. The Warriors, they play LeBron, they have played Kawhi, they have played KD, they have played all these great superstars, so they know what type of game plan to throw at them and what type of defense to run. So playing a team like Boston, where they have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, you can't say like they never had things like this thrown at them before, because they have. The next problem with the Celtics right now is not really in their control, but it still is a problem, and it's the health department. Now, we all seen Robert Williams and Marcus Smart. We all know that they're very big factors in the Celtics defense. They're literally, like, according to the NBA, the 2 best defenders on the Celtics, with Marcus Smart being all defensive first team, and Robert Williams being all defensive second team. And Marcus Smart has been the first guard since Gary Payton, I believe, to win the Defensive Player of the Year trophy, right? But those 2, out of everybody on the Celtics, has been going through a lot of pain. I just seen today on Twitter that Marcus Smart talked about him having ankle problems and the pain in his ankle, and he said he's gonna continue to play through it. But also another guy, and Robert Williams, where he can't be as physical as he usually is because he has knee soreness ever since the Milwaukee series. Ime Udoka even had to sub Robert Williams out the game for long stretches of time because he knows, he even said it himself, that they're gonna get real physical down the stretch, and he doesn't want to cause Robert Williams' knees to get even worse. So that's a big factor in this series in general for both teams, is health, especially Boston, because they have been dealing with their fair share of injuries with their most important players. Even Jason Tatum in the Heat game, he fell down and he was down for a minute. I don't know if Tatum is fully healthy, but he played like he's fully healthy. But both of these teams have been banged up. In the last problem that the Celtics is gonna face against the Warriors is that they never face the offense like the Warriors. You know, you can say that they face an offense like KD and Kyrie. KD and Kyrie, they're both two superstars, two offensive, specifically offensive superstars. Where KD, nobody can really stop KD. You know what I'm saying? When you think of a guy like KD, you think like no one can really stop him. You know, all you can do is hope to slow him down. You know what I'm saying? Like no one can really stop him. He's a 6'10" shot creator who can just shoot over you, right? Boston Celtics did a great job guarding KD. I believe he averaged under 40% in the series. And Kyrie is a great guard, great point guard, top 3 point guard in my eyes. But they made him struggle too. He had that 140 game, and after game 1, he never performed like that again, not even close to what he did in game 1. So, but at the same time, Brooklyn didn't have their full roster, right? And they also, their head coach. I'll be the first to say I don't believe in Steve Nash of being this head coach of Brooklyn Nets. I just don't see him being a very good head coach in my opinion. A lot of the plays and a lot of lineups that the Brooklyn Nets had to run was very problemsome. Like they had to run at one point Kyrie, Patty Mills, and Goran Dragic, or like a Kyrie, Seth Curry, and Patty Mills type lineup. You know, they had no wing depth. You know, so only a certain amount of band can go on Steve Nash. But that's an offense that Boston faced, where that's a challenge, but it's not the Warriors. You know, they also face Giannis in Milwaukee. That's a challenge, but it's not the Warriors. You know, the Warriors are a well-oiled machine. They've been doing this for the past decade, bro. They've been doing this for the past decade. You know, this big 3 that they have right now been to the finals 6 times. You know what I'm saying? Steve Kerr been to the finals 6 times. They have a veteran head coach at this point. At this point, Steve Kerr is a veteran head coach. You know, he's been here, or he already been here. He's been making game plans against some of the best coaches. You know what I'm saying? He's been making game plans against some of the best players. You know, they have Draymond, who could facilitate fairly good. Jordan Poole off the bench, firepower, another offensive firepower, and they got Andrew Wiggins. So Boston has never faced an offense like this, so it is a little bit concerning. But now we're gonna talk about some of Boston's strengths. The first strength and the most important strength about this team in general is Boston defense. Boston, from their whole team is basically is either good to elite defense for every guy on that team, except for you could say for Peyton Pritchard, but he's undersized. But for Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Robert Williams, Al Horford, Grant Williams, Derek White, all of them guys are good to elite defenders. You know what I'm saying? Robert Williams, I just told you, all defense second team. Marcus Smart, all defensive first team and defensive player of the year. Even though Al Horford is up there in age, you can still see him. He could get on the perimeter a little bit. He was a main key factor on stopping Giannis. So was Grant Williams. He's a wide body out there. So that is one of the Celtics' strengths on that team, is their defense. Second strength, because this is one thing that no one talks about that the Warriors has not faced. They have very good wing players. You know what I'm saying? And Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and Marcus Smart. Actually, they have very good wing players that can play defense. Let me say they have very good wing defense. You know what I'm saying? Like Steph Curry and the Warriors have not faced a team who has very good wing defense. They faced their best defensive team they faced was the Memphis Grizzlies, who on the wing had John Morant, Desmond Bane, and Dillon Brooks. And only person on that wing that actually was a good defender in my eyes was Dillon Brooks. And he got suspended for one game, I believe. And he got ejected the game he got suspended, right? John Morant, he's very athletic, I'm gonna say that, but he's not like one of those defenders. Like I would say Curry better than John Morant at defense. Like he clears him at defense. You know what I'm saying? John Morant's not a good defender. He can get a couple blocks, but he's not a good defender at all, in my opinion. But the main thing about that defense is the paint presence they have with Jaren Jackson, Steven Adams, Brandon Clark. You know, Xavier Tillman get thrown in there a little bit. You know, Kyle Anderson. Those are their defenders. The wing and up are their defenders. But their perimeter defense, they only have like Dillon Brooks out there, who's an actual capable perimeter defender, guard Steph Curry. And you know who else they face? They face the Mavericks and the Nuggets. And I don't have to explain why the Nuggets specifically couldn't really throw anything defensively at the Warriors. In the Mavericks, they only really have Dorian Finney-Smith and like Reggie Bullock, but those are not two elite defenders. You could argue Dorian Finney-Smith is a very good defender, which in my eyes he's a very good defender, but that's really it. Now the next strength I want to talk about is the defense switches. You know, this team that they're gonna go against, the Warriors, is gonna run a lot of screens, a lot of pick and rolls with Kevon Looney, Draymond Green, whatever, right? And I feel like that any switches possible they can make. You know what I'm saying? You can put Marcus Smart on Andrew Wiggins, and that's not a mismatch. You know what I'm saying? You can put Jaylen Brown on Stephen Curry. Now, people gonna bring up clips of where Stephen Curry like did cook Jaylen Brown, but that's like 2 years ago. You don't think Jaylen Brown improved? You know what I'm saying? Jaylen Brown's a very good defender. Him and Tatum, they can very much switch on these screens and try to guard Steph Curry to the best of the ability. If you watch the Boston Celtics, they fight hard on the screens. Like, what I mean by that is, like, when they set a screen, you're gonna see Marcus Smart trying to run through that screen. You know, not committing the foul, but like he's trying to get through the screen. He's not like just like nonchalant, like getting through the screen and like waiting for his defender to help him. No, he's trying his best to get through that screen and to get to Curry himself. Marcus Smart's a very good defender who can guard Clay, who can guard Wiggins, who can guard Curry. Then they can't target anybody on Boston unless they're trying to target a big man like Robert Woods or Al Horford, because Al Horford is a little bit slow-footed, but he's not that slow-footed. But at the same time, if Boston really wants to like have like a switching defense, they could run like, at the point, Marcus Smart, 2 Derek White, 3 Jaylen Brown, 4 Jason Tatum, and like the 5 Robert Woods or Grant Williams, like a small ball like that. If the Warriors run a PTSD lineup like Jordan Poole, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and Draymond with Andrew Wiggins in there, then the lineup I just named can go against that lineup in small ball. You know, so both teams can run a small ball lineup. Another Celtics strength, their paint presence. Al Horford, Grant Williams, Robert Williams, and I don't remember if Daniel Theis is healthy or not, but Daniel Theis, you know, those are 4 guys who have a very big presence in the paint, especially Al Horford and Robert Williams. And the impact that you have seen Kevon Looney had to this point against like a team like the Mavericks, where he get like 20 rebounds or like 10 plus rebounds, like 7 offensive rebounds, that's not gonna happen against Robert Williams and Al Horford. That's not gonna happen. And even Tatum in there trying to get a rebound, that's not gonna happen. You know, so I think that the Celtics can hold their own in the paint, on defense, any of that. Now we're gonna talk about the Warriors. The first Warriors problem that I have is their health. Just like the Celtics, the Warriors have some players who've been like injury prone their whole career, and players who are currently injured and they're just trying to play through it, like Gary Payton, like Otto Porter, and like Andre Iguodala. And that's one thing. Andre Iguodala, I have not seen him in the playoffs not one time this year, and he's gonna be playing in the finals. I don't like. We know Iggy's it's a good, very good role player. You know what I'm saying? A good defender. But Iggy's like 37 now. He just got off an injury. Like, it's gonna take time for him to like transition to being like in the rotation. Gary Payton, a very big player, very important player. Otto Porter is another important player. And I just see health as a general problem and concern for like specifically the big 3, because Klay Thompson just came off an ACL. Well, I think it was Achilles. I forgot the injury. And Curry is known to be injury prone. Draymond Green just came off an injury too. But I don't wish injury on nobody on this team. But I'm just saying that health is been a much concern for the Warriors every time they make the finals. It's always someone's like always injured or something like that. That's one problem that I have. Turnovers. Now, I discussed about how Boston had their turnovers with 2 specific players. The Warriors have their fair share of turnovers too. The Warriors average more turnovers than the Boston Celtics themselves. So when they go against a team like Boston, who has scrappy guys like Marcus Smart, Derek White, who has guys that will put it all onto defense like Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, where their defense is very, very much elite, that's gonna be a problem. You know. They average more turnovers than the Boston Celtics, and the Boston Celtics average a lot of turnovers. They average about 14 turnovers a game, and even though they average the Warriors average 0.8 more turnovers than the Celtics do in the playoffs right now. That still would be a very big problem for the Warriors. The third problem, and I don't know if you count this as a problem or not, but the Warriors just flat out haven't faced the competition that the Boston Celtics have, and they haven't faced a defense like the Boston Celtics this year in the playoffs. I'm not the only guy that has said this, but the Warriors' competition in the Western Conference this year was very, very bad, and it was like it was meant for them to win. Their toughest opponent was the Ja Morant and Memphis Grizzlies, and Ja Morant was injured after like game 3, I believe, and he was injured for the rest of the series. You didn't see him no more in the rest of the series. So the Warriors have not faced a team like the Bucks, like the Nets, like the Heat. They haven't faced a defense like that or offense like that. So I do want to see how the Warriors will face up against a team like the Boston Celtics, who have played these teams already and who have been battling. Now, another problem is Kevon Looney impact and Klay Thompson consistency. Klay Thompson in the regular season wasn't that consistent, and in the playoffs, his shot can be a little streaky. He's more of a volume shooter than anything, to be honest. Not from the 3-point line of clip, but just an overall player. He's more of a volume shooter. He got to get like a couple of ton of shots and to actually get a groove into the game. And Kevon Looney, the impact that he was having against the Mavericks or against the Grizzlies in the late in that series is gonna be different because of Al Horford and Robert Williams and Grant Williams, because those are actual big men. They're not going against the White Powell no more. They're not going against a Maxi Kleber no more. They're going against actual real big men who Robert Williams is like really like a glass cleaner on the board and a lockdown. You know what I'm saying? Now the Warriors' strength. The first strength is the offensive firepower. Anybody on that team really, it's like contribute to the offense. You know, Steph Curry give you 25 a night, 50, 40, 90. Klay Thompson, he can mess around and give you 40 or 30 one night. If he's hot, he can give you 40 or 30 in one night. Draymond Green, we all know Draymond Green is a very, very important piece in our offense, playmaking wise, you know. And if you have Draymond Green scoring too, I'm just gonna assume the Warriors are gonna win that game. Jordan Poole off the bench. They have Jordan Poole off the bench who could give you at least 18. Andrew Wiggins who's like really like a 16 to 20 point game scorer. You know, they have a lot of offensive pieces and offensive firepower off the bench and in that side of the lineup that's gonna trouble the Boston Celtics. Their second strength. The depth on that team is insane. They can run any line that they really want to. They got y'all know they're starting to five: Curry, Thompson, Wiggins, Draymond, and Kevon Looney. But on that bench, you got Gary Payton, Otto Porter, Jonathan Kuminga, Jordan Poole. I can't really say his name. My fault if I say it. But Bahilica, I think Bahilicia. Those are a lot of players on that bench that can contribute to them winning. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing that I feel like the Warriors have the Celtics beaten is in that depth compartment. Another strength, of course, their defense. You know, just like Boston, the Warriors have a lot of defensive pieces. The Warriors were the number 2 defense, I believe, or number 1 defense. Beside Boston Celtics, there was number 1 or number 2 defense in the whole entire league because, you know, Draymond Green was facilitating that defense. You got guys like Gary Payton. Even though Klay Thompson, he's not prime Klay Thompson, and he just came off an injury. Klay Thompson, Stephen Curry, he's an underrated defender. People don't talk about his defense enough. Andrew Wiggins, who could give you that length, who to me is really very good to elite defense. You know what I'm saying? With his length, with his arms. Andre Iguodala, who is very good at defense. Even though he's like 37 now, he's still very good at defense. You know, they have a lot of pieces that can throw at you. They have a lot of defensive power and a lot of offensive power that this Warriors team can throw at you. And the last thing I'm gonna talk about is the experience that the Warriors have that I talked about earlier, that they face all types of defensive and offenses. To be honest, they faced in San Antonio Spurs with Kawhi Leonard. They have faced a LeBron James with Kyrie Irving. They have faced KD and Russell Westbrook on the same team. They have faced a lot of offense and defense, and they're used to it by now, to be honest. Them and Steve Kerr, they have been through a lot in this past decade. You know what I'm saying? This past decade, the Warriors have been through a lot together, and they have built the perfect chemistry. You know, so that experience will play a huge part. But to get to my finals prediction and why, me personally, I still have the Boston Celtics. And the only thing I'm concerned about the Boston Celtics is that the Warriors offense can get they can get hot. But the Warriors offense could be inconsistent times. Curry can also be, a very streaky shooter at times, especially after he broke the 3-point record. He has sometimes he go off one game, then the next game he doesn't shoot like terrible, but like he shoot like bad for his standards. Klay Thompson's the same type of player. I want to see how Jordan Poole performs in the finals. This is his first time in the finals. This is his first real playoff run for Jordan Poole, and he's been doing good. And Andrew Wiggins, I just feel like Andrew Wiggins is a very he's a player that you can throw Jason Tatum at, and he wouldn't be that much of a factor into the offense, in my opinion. And I just feel like Boston, I just feel like they're I just think people have said this too, but I just feel like they're meant to win. Like Boston, they got 2 stars, and Jason Tatum, who's a superstar, and Jaylen Brown, who's a certified bucket. 23 points per game score with good defense. It's really the defense, in my opinion, because even though the Warriors is right behind the Boston Celtics, in my opinion, the Boston Celtics defense is gonna be no other defense that the Warriors has faced before. Marcus Smart at the point guard spot, Jaylen Brown at the shooting guard spot, Tatum at the 3 or 4. Oh yeah, you can throw Robert Williams and Al Horford. The Warriors have not faced a defense like that, and I really want to see how this series would go. I have Boston at 7, but I feel like it will be a very close series. But that'll be it for the video. Like, comment, subscribe. If you have not yet, look at the description. I have my Twitter and my Instagram down there. And yeah, peace out.